have High Priestess today. Gonna do some really interesting stuff while talking about her book. Dylan's gonna give a little update on Price of Bliss Eternal. There's some very exciting giveaways with some great some extra giveaways for the first purchaser of this High Priestess book that's launching. And with that, I think I was just excited to jump on the mic and say hi to everybody. And I'm excited to hear this. There's also another very, very cool thing that you might be able to win here live. And I will pass the mic to Dylan to let him open up, and Jim is going to give some details when we get to our special guest, High Priestess, of how you can win a very cool thing, as well as some other giveaways with the purchase of this NFT.
Hey, thanks, Easy. Man, it sounds like Miami must have been a real blast. Anyway, I've got just the shortest, briefest of updates. I'm doing an airdrop for the Price of Bliss Eternal. This is a typical Twitter type of thing. We, tag 3 friends, reply with your wax address, like, follow, and retweet the WIP publishing account on Twitter. To get a chance to get one of these limited one of 100 NFTs that we've made on Wax. So this is the Wax blockchain, folks. We're branching out just from Matic. Basically, we're working towards audiobooks for a handful of these various different NFT books. It turns out that process actually takes quite a bit of time. The Price of Bliss Eternal is recorded almost completely in audiobook form, but actually does also need to be mastered because I'm just not that good of a speaker out loud. So thanks for bearing with us on that, and we got some really exciting stuff coming up on that front, as well as on some other surprise fronts. So we'll be dropping alpha as it becomes available on that for you guys. I just want to say thanks everybody for being here. We got a heck of a show for you today. Here's Jim.
Well, first of all, I want to say that Dylan really undermined himself as a good speaker. I thought his British accent was brilliant last week. But yes, we if anyone else is as warm as I am, then I can certainly relate. We're sort of in the fire season, the summer season. It's slowly creeping up on us, and what's really exciting is we have someone very into sort of esoteric and hermetic and spiritual and alternative ways of seeing knowledge and Gnosticism and all the rest of that. We have a highest priestess goes informally as Betsy, and her book Sovereign Etheric Being, I think it's called. And yes, and it's it's great to have you. Are you in? Are you able to... Hello. Yeah. So I mean, we were talking yesterday about this book and a lot of the themes.
Yes, it's been a beautiful, accidental, almost work in the making that has come together in really in a rather illustrative and poetic way. And apologies, everybody, I've got a teething baby on my arms, and so sorry for the additional squawky sound.
That's quite all right.
Okay, so sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'll be eager to sort of hear, like, in your work again, what this was about, because you're exploring a different way to sort of understand ourselves and knowledge about ourselves through a lens that, as I think you mentioned yesterday, has been kind of repressed and ignored by sort of modern paradigms of knowledge. Am I right in saying that?
Very much so. As much as, wow, there's so much modern paradigms and knowledge that are, as with most of the preconditioned belief systems and religion, all of this that we have been almost force-fed today, which leaves away the holistic picture, which leaves away, especially in the world of, as mentioned, the hermetic knowledge, the esoteric knowledge, specifically the fifth element, the ether. So this book has the ether as the sort of main character, if you will, which is not personified. However, it is definitely that it is the alchemical gold that is the process in which the spiritual alchemy, this is Tepi alchemy, is to which we are all able to reach. And so this so we of course tap into this Hermetic philosophy, which outlines the 7 universal principles of mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And whether you understand alchemy as a science or a spiritual psychology instrument, it is ultimately concerned with transformation and change. And so these processes of transformation and change are also outlined as some refer to it as the universal transformations. Some schools have 7, 14, and 22, though I go into detail the sort of the seven main ones that have come over time. And as with the Latin expression solve coagula, which is derived from solve, meaning to break down and separate, whilst coagula describes the process of bringing elements back together, coagulating into a new, higher form. So by pursuing this alchemical gold, and listening to our higher calling, that which our inner genius, our soul is echoing out of our core, we then break down these limiting parts within us, which the little I, ego. Actually, I don't know if people know that the word ego actually comes from Old Greek. It just simply means I. That is the word for I, ego, in Greek. And so when you see it like this, then it's not so much something that you need to bash about or kill or destroy or anything of this. You just need to know thyself. And so by simply knowing thyself, you are able to then see it as a part of yourself, but that is not the end-all be-all, because it is truly that sovereign etheric being that is that which comes from the void, the seemingly no thing and everything, and where we have this limitless potential that we are able to then resource not only of ourselves and of the planet Earth that we are on, but also from the universal life force that is all around us, within us, as above, so below, as within, so without, as thyself, so the universe. And so yes, and so there's these aspects of it, and so it is something that I desired very much to not create another philosophical text on the ether. It was very important to me to bring across something that was practically applicable and something that one could then experience the ether. So there is an entire chapter that is dedicated to the different senses, taste, smell, touch, etc., and different ways to be able to experience the ether with the senses. And also, very importantly, there was a process that is called polarization. So polarization is basically the optimal natural state of our being. So what does that mean? So a healthy energetic system is one in which the etheric life force can freely flow through, where all that does not fully resonate within you is able to be witnessed, distilled, and purified, where your entire physical, emotional, and subtle energetic systems will naturally and consistently revitalize and bring coherence and balance throughout, under the protection of a fortified etheric layer through the process of polarization. So what is this etheric layer? Well, if you look at when we seek an answer that we cannot find within ourselves, it is an amazing practice to look in nature, because if you understand nature, you can understand all of these different transformational processes, and you can see them happen also physiologically, psychologically within yourself. And so much like the etheric layer is the outermost, the 13th layer of our, some might call it the aura, our energy field. So you come in the etheric layer to the human or plant cell, which has an outer border, a membrane that selectively takes in the good stuff and protects the cell's core from harmful invaders, or in our case, any whether it's energetic interference or stress or anything of this sort. So when most people, especially when you're living in the big cities, your etheric layer looks a bit like Swiss cheese. It's full of holes. And therefore it makes you far more susceptible to external influences. And by this process of polarization, which there's an entire chapter, well, there's a lovely section dedicated to it. It talks you through this process and how you are able to then bring your being into the optimal state, connecting and grounding not only the feet, but also people mostly forget the second grounding, which is of the third eye and the crown, to the source. So we ground our feet, ground the third eye and the crown, and this enables the flow to go through the system to bring coherence, which is harmony, which is balance, which it deepens the breathing. It brings the body to a state where it is naturally able to begin to heal itself, to be able to bring yourself back to the optimal state. And so we work with all of these, and then there was one part which is really nice and really interesting. It was actually the final inspiration that brought all of this together, and it's like, oh, I should make all of this works that I've been doing for the last years, and it should go into a book. Of course, yeah. That makes perfect sense. Which is titled "Unmasking the Archetypes," and unmasking is in really big. But it's we are able to see where, for example, the story of Genesis is something that has been taken from the ancient Sumerians with Namu, and where there was a far more of a prominent feminine archetype, for lack of a better word, that you see that there have been many stories that have been repeated over time, and that even certain figures such as Athena was literally hijacked and then used as an instrument for political gains, power, all of this, where I was able to uncover some really amazing backstories and tie together where different myths, which even Joseph Campbell had brought together as the monomyth, stories that have been retold over time throughout cultures, throughout histories and religions. But it all roots back to the same resonating truth, as you would see with all religions. At the core, they all say the same thing, and that roots back to this axiom of knowing thyself. So this is a lovely soul guide, which is illustrated, has some ancient alchemical diagrams through the book, and it's a guide to help bring you back to your roots, to your core, so that you can experience the subtle realms. Playing with the subtle realms is always about being playful in all of this, in order, because we will. It's proven scientifically that when we are playful, we learn so much faster than any of this memorization methodical. You bypass so much rhetoric and get to the core of really experiencing embodiment and being. Isn't that baby? And can really then begin to see your reality outside of you changing drastically as a reflection of the purity of your being and of your greatest self-expression, which is your genius. It's unique to you. People run around searching for their soul purpose, but really, if they were just to be still, just a moment, and playful enough with themselves to hold the tension, so essentially important, because it is the process of creation begins always in tension. And when you're holding that tension, you're still, you open up, you become receptive, and the inspiration, the unimaginable, the disruptive, the that which is the real game changer, not only for your life, but the example that you set for others, that is what really comes through. And then the use of others to bring so that you need magnetize right to you to ensure you can further that it is calling with joy from your core. So yes, so that's me in a little big nutshell.
A big nutshell.
I want to interject right quick. We got an airdrop for you folks, ladies and gentlemen. Betsy, High Priestess's work is going to be released on at least part on wax in the near term. So free to go and follow us on Twitter, like, retweet, tag friends. You'll be eligible to pick up one of these sweet limited edition NFTs that features Betsy's work or High Priestess's work.
Well, there's so much to unpack there with these sorts of connections and of ideas and sort of states of being and kind of and transitions and all the rest of it. I mean, one thing that first of all, I didn't even know that ego meant I in Greek, and I don't know how I went my whole life without knowing that. I think there's definitely a certain sense of when you're talking about like intuition, I think is a big theme, and when you talk about linear education and sort of filling out forms and sort of meaning specifications, I think it is very important. I think both spiritualists and philosophers of the 20th century, particularly Beauvoir, would definitely agree that seriousness is a real poison compared to pleasure, and that's that you don't even need to be an existentialist to understand this. And we talk about how kids naturally develop and play and they become far more receptive and interested and engaged in what they're living, and they don't have the burden of and they don't have the burden of trying to get everything so serious as if there was some big principle or perfection they have to follow. But I want to go back into intuition, because this all falls into a lot of psychic kind of themes and the idea that if we open up to the sort of esoteric side of things, as your book is most definitely talking about, we can those intuitions can enable us to sort of know things about other people that we may be able to know, like formal linear ways. And this is where I want to sort of I want to announce that Highest Priestess would like to do a live psychic reading to one of you, and it is a bit of a game. The first person to write the comment "Enter the Void" into the chat. Let's see who it is. We'll get a psychic reading. Enter the Void. Yeah, we got one.
Yeah, it looks like Lindsay with an E was our first.
Quick.
That was so
She's quick.
fast.
She wins.
Did she know about that in advance?
I think
Nobody's told her, did they?
unless she's hacking or Damn, that was good.
Cheating, guys. I'm serious. I don't think
No. This was a bit much different. Yes, it's a crazy world. I mean, so we have Lindsay, do you want to say hello? Audibly, we all here, and I'll see. I'm not hiding my exactly knowing how this is going to go, but so I'll leave. There you go.
Lindsay with an E.
Hello.
We hear you, Lindsay.
You just awesome. Hi.
There you go.
My dear.
I'm sorry.
What are you trying to play? How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you. How did you work?
So are we doing this one now, guys? Or is it happening at this moment?
I guess it.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
That was fine.
I'm
I'm very curious.
so
reading also the gal cards. She said some things, and I literally, I'll try. That was over 15 years ago now. So, do you have any question on your heart that comes to your mind? You don't feel like you need to, because if not, then we can just open up and see what is meant. So just 1 moment. I mean, usually I look in my when I'm shopping anything. All right, with me. Let's see what the universe has for you, my dear. Nice. Okay, so what I'm seeing for you is that there has been a lot of you, sort of what to expect, untying the mask, taking off the French word, there's a word of habit or beliefs, which is, in French, the word habit is close, so it's something that we can take off, and it's important to do so in order to see and get a feel for what's that purity, what's really going on inside of you. So I see that you have been lately nourishing your inner child, seeking greater playfulness and this natural intimacy with actually getting closer to that place of home, which is your core, and what is needed going forward is actually a bit more structure for your journey. And in this structure of your journey, what's really important to remember is that you are supposed to be able, every feeling, every emotion that comes through is valid. It is there to be witnessed because it comes up. You are not there to judge it. It just is. These are 3 very important words that are going to help add structure for you going forward, especially if something is challenging or overwhelming or doesn't seem to have an answer. If you see it and it just is, then that brings you to that place of stillness, where then you will be able to hear, perceive, and feel within you, within that radiance of your being, exactly what is to be coming next, exactly what it is that you need to know of it, so that you can continue moving towards this sovereignty, this freedom. How is this sitting with you so far, my dear Lindsay?
That is so crazy, just because I have terrible ADHD, and structures and literally the word of the day for me always, like, not even joking. Like, that is so weird.
As we're having fun with it.
Yeah, no, it's just like, it's dirty. Oh, well, that's what
So this is all a great work for you, and inside it is exactly one way to drop your system, because it's not that off, where it stops you for like, wait, she said what, and she said, but who I am is a reminder of really, really push out. I love you, echoing out of your core, saying, hey, this being within you that has this structure and is wanting, desiring for you to hold the vision so that it can all get burst into form. So there is a
like, honestly, that's why this is so
beautiful. So this in grounding and descending into your body, so that you bring yourself that reminder of stillness. It just is. With that, the creativity, the inspiration comes out, and there is something that's coming up here, and I apologize, we're in a very public space, and I'm saying, though, there is this agent of change whilst you are choosing to explore your inner landscape, where you're supposed to experience this creativity. Creativity is also rooted, what they call, in some cultures call it the Shakti, others call it the sexual energy. It's synonymous with each other, creativity and the sexual energy, because our creation place, that sacral chakra where the womb is, that's the energetic point of this all. And so you have not been empowering yourself as you should be. And this is not a criticism. It's because you don't know until you know. And you are at a moment in your life where the receptivity is there, your curiosity is piqued, and actually it's really, you have no idea yet just how brilliant this genius that is within you, what is the great view and the objectivity, specifically the objectivity, to be able to see things more than just what they are, but you can see things for what they are and what they should be, what they could be, but it's the objectivity. And it comes back again. There is an aspect of the sexuality which, in you tapping into all of this, you will begin to heal yourself and open yourself up as a result to really something magnificent, someone magnificent. So this all though begins within you, because remember, we do not attract what we think we are or what we believe to be, but we attract what we are. And so that going in and stabilizing your mind, providing that structure of stillness so that you can receive and hear and listen, the structure will come into place. The intuitive wisdom, the feminine mysteries will come alive, and your creativity is going to shine. So your inner sight and your ability to see beyond what is apparent and in front of you. It comes back again, the objectivity, the great view over all things. So, yes, this point of
Just a lot to take in.
It is, but let me bring it back to just the three simple words. It just is. And funny enough, just is, when you put it together, and that's why it's something that I wrote at the back of the book, justice, just is. So in order to give true justice to something, you see it as it is first and foremost. Then it is no longer your judgment, it just is. You see it in its clarity, and then you can really be and do something of great benefit and value, not only to yourself, but also to those around you. But this is the moment for you. And it's really that this beautiful, gracious abundance is supposed to be coming forward. And I feel it very much in the way of, yes, it begins in creativity and it extends out in this beautifully, again, sexual way. And I don't.
Yeah, on that part, I'm curious. You said specifically someone, but would it mean someone, or could it be experiences, or like, because you said someone specifically, and that was, or is it more open than that?
Well, there are experiences that obviously will bring someone's into it, but this is really, it felt like very much a someone. And here's something. It's again, it's not what we are, and we all deserve that equal or better. We deserve this, that which you find matched and are able to playfully, from one iron sharpens iron. On the other hand, it's that way that we are able to then rise together, work together, whilst cutting away illusions and weaving this web of life together. And it is a lot of passionate play. You have some amazingly intimate experiences to look forward to, and then out of the creativity that will be inspired through you. Like it
was sounding good.
It's very good, and this video, it's making. And it all goes in your time. It's all very, very perfect. It begins in the stillness. It begins in the engine. Remember, it is an opportunity to take all excess energy, all of that which is overwhelming overwhelming, and you can then transform it. But first, be still with it. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Harness it. Choose to use it. See it as it just is, and you can make it into anything you choose to be. Maybe
you should be a psychiatrist.
the psychic are also, psychiatrists. The only difference is that psychiatrists want you to keep coming out of their couch. If I'm doing my work, I say,
My dog actually said that because I'm doing a job.
You can continue, and you can be here with yourself. I'm simply getting you back home. I'm simply getting you back to your core, your being is within you. That is, hey, out to you, say hi to me. She's getting to be embodied by you.
I don't know if the world is ready.
It's time for you to.
What I meant, it's very
No, it's time to go play.
It's very it's fun. It's very we went the manly P. Hall, who's known for his letters and books. I think I have a book. He talked about mentioned about alchemy got transparency. It's so interesting to hear, let's say, psychiatrist when psychiatry would it comes with this psychic. I don't know the theology, but
psychology
yeah.
So you did this or just PHY it comes to the physician. The physicians of old were not these particular doctors like you said. There were people that you went to like shamans, like that would again bring you back home. So I'm here to help you remember why you are here and where to begin, which is always exactly where you are. So.
Wow.
Where are you going? I'm sorry?
What do you think?
No, it's interesting, just the structure part. That was kind of just eerie, because that just made me, listen a little bit more so, because I was a bit skeptical of things like that. But then it's really great advice. I'm not gonna lie.
Great. I want to mention now with us priests, we're doing a trip on top of the NFT book and things you can share on the WIP Pub on Twitter. Doing a triple giveaway, and it works in tiers, and I'll explain what that means. So we have, I'll post the link to Best Priestesses NFT book on the WIP again. The first 3 people to buy the book will also get a psychic reading. So this is the 3 people that will also get a psychic reading. The first 6 people will get a live meditation, a live guided meditation with Highest Priestess. And the first 9 people will get a pre-recorded meditation they can listen to at all times. And obviously, the first 3 people get all 3. The first 6 people get the 6th, and then the bottom 2. So it's a tier system. So the earlier you come to buy Highest Priestess book, the more you get. And I'll post that NFT book once again now. So be quick.
And also, thank you, Highest Priestess, for that. My first psychic reading.
My absolute pleasure, and thank you for being brave enough to put yourself out there. That's super.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
I want to talk a bit more about this sort of transition from sort of hermetic and esoteric and spiritual ideas that were very present in Western culture and how they've kind of been secularized. I find that a very interesting movement, and I wonder what we've lost along the way. I think I have in my book, for example, I have my personal opinions on like how modern culture has stripped us away of a lot of our sort of personal manifestations in terms of just self-actualization and actual freedom and being aware of reality, that it just is thing that you said. Betsy, was really resonant to me. I want to know your personal opinions in more detail about this transition from the more esoteric spiritual side of thinking about ourselves as people to this more secular, more refined, and more compartmentalized way of thinking about ourselves.
Well, unfortunately, as we see it today, it is information overload. I mean, information overload, disinformation overload, misinformation overload, and the like. And so how do you cut through all the BS? Well, I refer to the BS often as belief systems. So first things first, you recognize where it is, whether that is your belief or not, first and foremost, or whether it's something that you picked up along the way and you're deciding to wear somebody else's clothes, so to speak. Like I mentioned, in French, the word habit is clothes. So choose to take it off. That doesn't mean you can't put it back on again, but know where it comes from and know why you're wearing it. Know thyself. And that is something that it's been, as you had mentioned just then, Jim, that over the centuries, the eon, that the elements, the four primary elements, water, fire, air, earth, are very well documented. And however, the etheric principle, the fifth element, the quintessence, has, and up until now, not so very long ago, there's the last few years, this has been something that was not spoken about, not written about, because it is supposed to be that which you discover, that which is hidden. And so this etheric seal, so to speak, is now broken, and this is now something where this living wisdom, this exemplary compassion and community, and together we rise, these beautiful sentiments. This is now very, very prevalent today. And if we look at the school systems, for example, as it is rather archaic, that if you do not fit into the little brown or gray, you are going to be branded this, that, and the other mental disease, illness, and you need to take this, that, and the other medication in order to further close your third eye, shut down your systems, and disable your ability to maintain your always there connection with source, with creation. And that's something that's actually rather interesting, because they make the whole world so dualistic. But really, here's the cool thing. 1 + 1 = 3. It is always the Trinity. It is always about 3. And what does 1 + 1 = 3 really mean? Well, that is the way to really move. I'm not a big fan of this word, but that is the way to ascend out of the duality, is by seeing that with the two forces, the third is born. And so the alchemical color of pure light is not white. That's an interesting point. And what we perceive as this darkness, this black, is not actually black. And in the center is certainly not gray. It is actually a violet. So it is ultraviolet light. And the ultraviolet spectrum is interesting, because the ultraviolet spectrum, which we'll get into, this is the first book of a trilogy, by the way, which is the second book will go into the occult anatomy of the human being and these more scientific examples. The ultraviolet. But the ultraviolet band of light is actually the band where plants and cellular communication happens. And psychic nuances and information is carried through this super fluid, meaning very coherent, meaning stable, harmonic. This is all through this ultraviolet band. And so when they say the alchemical color of pure light is not white, it is because it is actually ultraviolet, but it is so bright it appears as white. And on the other side of the spectrum, you look up at the night sky, you think it's black, it's not. It's actually this deep, deep indigo, appearing as black, and in the center it's again not gray, far from gray. It is the violet spectrum, and so this is again, we go back into play, we go back into seeing what, for those that are becoming more sensitive and able to see the energies that are coming off of a person, or coming out of a person rather, that it is when the body is in its beautifully harmonic state, and that the processes are not inflamed and not red, it's flowing, it appears as violet in the aura. So that's my little bit there for you, Jim.
That's wonderful. No, I mean, I think the 1 + 1 = 3 thing. I knew exactly. I personally know exactly what you meant in terms of. I think a good word to describe that is like interdependence, and harmony is also a good word as well. It's the breaking of the yin and yang egg. You know, to form the. I mean, even in that sort of tale of how the universe was created, it was these two forces, there's the yin and the yang, there's two forces, and they broke, and that breaking of the shell formed all of the gaseous and atomic substances of the universe. I think it's a great tale to sort of say when you do have two forces to meet, the sum is always greater than the total is greater than the sum of its parts. That's a very important thing. I also heard you talk something about schools, and how schools certainly they teach their children to sort of to be linear and to sort of think in specific boxes and ways to sort of deprive them of kind of the the ability to sort of to sort of think intuitively and see the world for how it is. I think I have a slightly different take on it, but that idea genuinely really strikes with me, that we are genuinely like we are stuck in a state of so many obstructions, and so many, you could even think of it in terms of health, because if I'm able to find your element chart, I could try and find that and post that, because that was a really nice demonstration of like the combination of the seasons and the elements and the certain behaviors of these elements, and spirit obviously being the fifth element that kind of we don't talk much about anymore at all, even though we don't speak about the other ones that much at all either. And it's fascinating to sort of see with health, even when we sort of talk about how we digest food, how our liver works, and how our heart beats, exercise and all of that. We like schools in terms of obstructing, and we also have like a lot of pharmaceutical advancements have rendered it very, there are so many obstructions. There's no real consideration into sort of holistic health, and there's a lot, and that rings alarm bells in people for some very strange reason, because people are sort of, I don't know, worried about alternative ways of being healthy, such as I don't know, eating healthily and acknowledging that we are made up of these different processes that we can signify as different elements, to be kind of scary, and we just in my personal opinion, we a pill is far easier and far more easy to be prescribed under an authority, and I may have gone off into a tangent there, but I think it's a good example on how institutions have changed, and how they haven't how in a lot of ways they haven't changed for the better, and in many ways quite the opposite. Maybe the final question I could ask you is in relation to health and mental health, because I think it's a very pressing topic right now, and I think what you're offering is a bit of a breath of fresh air to people who have been sort of caught in a psychiatric cycle. So I suppose my last question to you, before we ask questions from everyone else, is what you see in the pharmaceutical, psychiatric, mental health world right now, and and your criticism and things that you would do to change it.
Ooh, that's a loaded question for these times.
It might be, and I do apologize if it was. I try to keep it as impartial as possible.
It's always about solutions. One can carry on compounding a problem, or they can choose to step out of the chaos and move forward. And this is what it's about. It's about solutions. And as you mentioned, that there is something, especially the way that the world has gone in its masked insanity in the last in this last year or so, that it has gone wonky enough that folks have started to be like, there's something up here. So even the ones that are just don't care, or there's the cognitive dissonance that comes up that is feeling to defend certain aspects of I just say of poisoning the society. Well, it's always an opportunity. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow if we so choose. And anything is possible and everything can happen, especially where it comes to synapses. Neurologically, we are extremely adaptable beings. Our entire neurosystem has these adaptogenic qualities, which our synapses are able to disconnect from previous habit patterns, previous ways of being, and reconnect to what is always within all of us. Our soul is pure. This genius that I speak of is pure, and then the more subtle step above that, our spirit. I mean, they're directly connected with source, and that is the alchemical gold. So, to anyone that is feeling that there is something amiss, but that they know there is more to themselves, and that there is more that can be done, keep going. And if there is not the answer that comes, go into this, be still for the moment, hold attention, and ask to be presented with the answer. Be playful with the universe, be playful with yourself, because that is where the miracles really happen. And I've seen this happen not only with myself in my own life, but with many others. These synchronicities, the synergy is essential to life. It is essential to reminding us of the vitality of life, of this nature of life, which is limitless, which anything is possible and everything can happen. Choose your words, not only what comes out of your beautiful mouth, but also what comes into your lovely mind, because that does become your reality. And don't beat yourself up if you mess up. Who cares? Really, it happened. Learn from it. Move on. So don't be stagnant in any space. The way to disrupt any and every preconditioned system that is in place is simply by living your passion with joy. Be there, be in yourself, descend into your being, and that is your authenticity, is being in you and letting it free. Be your sovereign etheric self, and be playful with being okay with asking, hey, I have this problem, what's the solutions? Most of us sometimes forget that we have this power within ourselves to learn everything, literally everything, especially when it comes to answers and understanding. You just have to be ready to listen and hear and chew on that truth and swallow that sometimes very jagged pill, but take some water and wash it down, because yeah.
No, absolutely fine. It's just I think someone's just talking that much. I want to, and before we ask questions from people, I think that's a lovely answer, and I like the way you describe it, because we even when you sort of identified my question as loaded, and it was loaded, and of course I presented it in a kind of serious manner, I suppose. I said, like, I was sort of saying as if, like, what are these things that we need to address now? And I think this playfulness is something we've entirely forgotten as crucial to our health. I won't go on for too long, but, like, in the psychiatric model now, we sit in monochrome rooms, and and we sit in hospital beds, and it's all clinical and all sterile, and it's all very serious. And I think especially in a time like this, to sort of have a paradigm that sort of blocks out any other way of viewing mental health, especially a way that we have viewed mental health for hundreds and thousands of years, really, is a shame, especially when we do identify such seriousness to the way that we talk about health. I think you teach us. I think you remind us of a very good thing to remember about who we are and how we connect with ourselves and other people, and how we manifest things. I think it's a brilliant lesson. Anyway, thank you so much. Do we have any questions we can post either in the chat or on?
All right, folks, let's hear them. Let's hear your questions.
Yeah.
We got a lot of questions in the house.
There's bound to be some good questions today, and I
got a
did
question.
just want to
go on.
mention. I did
Go on,
not
Izzy.
see Bully Meow after us, so we may have a little extra time. Just wanted to throw that out there, so
Okay.
it wasn't on the schedule. And let's hear that first question. Woohoo!
How y'all doing today? I just wanted to ask, like, how long you've been practicing, and when did you find yourself going down this rabbit hole and find yourself with this passion?
So I started practicing with regard to doing readings for folks. That's been for more than 15 years now. Oh, wow. Yeah, more than 15 years now. And rabbit holes? I'd say probably 16, 17 years now. And it's once you start going down one, they keep appearing. And so life has presented me with very many opportunities to not only to know myself, but also to be able to shine a bright and shiny light that others can also see themselves, not only for what they are. Sometimes I'm a very, very pristine mirror, for better or for worse, for people, though that is married to my being, which is also solution orientated and receptive, and I have very broad shoulders, so I'm capable of being able to also carry folks for as long as they need to. So yeah, it's for quite some time, and the rabbit holes, I'm sure, will continue to come. I'm looking forward to it.
I have a question. Highest Priest, where did you study? I recognize a lot of philosophical thought in what you're preaching here, and I find you to be extraordinarily well read. But I can't remember where you went to school.
That was kind of neither here nor there. To be frank, I got expelled as a freshman because of pot.
Oh, what a drag! I'm so sorry.
I went back and I got my GED thing, and I went into I actually went to university and started in Montana. That went to actually all of my academic career, so to speak, did nothing for my then later corporate career, which has nothing again to do with what I'm doing now. And where I am, as the word gnosis is, the gnosis comes from self-knowledge, that which you learn of direct experience. And so it has been me being very extreme in my personality and in my being, and having created experiences too. Sorry?
Yeah, I feel like you've read a lot too. I'm just curious about your process. Like how do you arrive at things? How do you put your arguments together? They're fascinating, and I really have enjoyed them.
Well, one of the books that I have found really instrumental, which is also referenced in the back of the Sovereign Etheric Being book, is a book by a gentleman called Franz Barden called Initiation into Hermetics, which has plenty of theory, but it is full of practical applications in which to get to know yourself through the elements, which is also detailed in this book.
Yeah, yeah. This is fascinating. There's a lot of there's so much in like basically what I would consider to be philosophy of language. Like I guess there's something to be said for the notion that when what you have is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. Because I think I relate to Jim on this level too, just in terms of the way that we approach things and the way to sort of deal with the fact that what we say can never, completely encapsulate what it is that we're trying to say in some sense,
And also how language can be more pervasive than a hammer, because you can put down a hammer and then you can just go and leave the shed and sit and go back. But when you speak, it changes who you are and how you think. And so this language can become a tool that's like that's far beyond our control or our, really dangerous for our freedom if we don't know what's going on. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, there's something so important there. I just I think that's that's absolutely fascinating. And man, just week after week, it's like we come in and we do something new, and we just we have so much fun. I'm really enjoying being here.
Me
Thanks.
too.
It's been good, man. It's been good.
Very much so. And that's what it's about, really, guys. It's how we are able to then come together, sharing a vision with our individuated ways of being, which is so unique and so important to be exactly who you are, though it's so beautiful when we can come together sharing a vision and rise up and above and beyond. And therefore, we all at one point hit that tipping point, and that is when the big paradigm shift happens, and nothing can stop us. And I know we are.
Yes.
And if everyone can just bear in mind that we have already won, and it's just the process now getting up to that point, it can be a little bit easier. And I've seen a number of comments to each other with regard to the topic of medication. And I would say with this that I would not recommend anybody who is heavily on any form of prescription medication to just stop cold without having the support structures in place. So we are, and unfortunately, so many people are so brilliant and have been dimmed, their light has been dimmed, their senses have been dulled. And that does not mean that you are not irreparable. That does not mean that you are not able to come through and go above and beyond, way beyond what you think you are able to do now, because that's the beauty of the way that the universe works. It is that concept, this alchemical process of multiplication. When we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, the multiplication effect happens, and your joy will be multiplied, your resources will be multiplied. Everything that you need to resource from yourself will be multiplied. And so there is a way out for everybody if you so choose. It's all down to that superpower of choice, which we all have.
Yeah.
And so people give it away. Anything, people are afraid. So many people are shit scared of not being a slave. It's like, oh, they want me to make my decision. Oh no, that's not comfortable. Oh no. It's really astounding to me how many people are afraid of their own freedom. So it's first and foremost that accountability, being able to see exactly where you are, own it, and go forward from there. Just like that.
Absolutely. I mean, that has so much rings to existentialism in a lot of ways, but also in a very alchemical way. I'm just wondering if there is a bully meows thing happening in that now. Actually, if there is, then I just want to say, this has been wonderful, and thank you so much for being on, Highest Priestess, and once again, first people to buy the book, first 3 psychic reading, first 6 live meditation, first 9 pre-recorded meditation, and it's been lovely lovely. Has anyone got any final words, final announcements? Dylan, do you want to talk about the Twitter again and get people to remind people on that again? That'll be before we wrap things up.
Yeah. I just want to say again, shout out to everybody who's helping with Whippy and getting us where we're at today and putting us on the map, as it were. So we very much appreciate all the follows and all the participation in our Wax airdrop, supporting this lovely, wonderful book, which I highly recommend everybody go scope out. So I'm dropping a few more links here. But I also want to brag about like our Whip dev group. These are guys who've gone above and beyond. They're building some really amazing stuff, and you guys are y'all are going to be really kind of blown away by what we're up to. Unfortunately, I can't do much more than tease you at the moment. So enjoy that. Think about that. It's imagine what it's going to be. It's going to be really, really cool. And hopefully not too much farther out in the future. So I mean, these guys are really just putting in a lot of work, and they're just they're making some really amazing things happen. And so know that we're all very proud to be associated with. Additionally, I do want to go ahead and just one more time, go ahead and basically just say, if you haven't already, go to the tweet that I just dropped, like that tweet, retweet that tweet, follow that account, tag a few friends, and give us your Wax address to get eligible for a 1 of 100 minting run of Highest Priestess's book. So
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And your support to us means a hell of a lot, and we want to absolutely return that to you. So thanks everyone for being on. Thank you, High Priestess. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week. I think this week I'll be talking to Andy about on the YouTube channel. Andy about his continued saga, and I'll also be talking to Easy about Bitcoin Miami. That will be great fun. So yeah, I think we're 2 minutes over time. Thank you so much, everyone, and you have a good day, and put on some sunscreen.
Yeah, this is incredible. What an amazing show today. I really think, just the variety of different authors and people coming to share what they're working on with us over at WIP Publishing has just been really phenomenal. And we do have a lot of stuff in the works. And in the next week or two, we're going to be doing a really fun new concept here. So, keep follow the Twitter, keep your eyes peeled. There will be a sign-up sheet for that event. So you're going to want to, be following and be able to sign up for that and get in on that fun activity. If you haven't joined the Discord and you really enjoy these events, if you maybe do a little writing or you'd be interested in collaborating with writers in some other ways, maybe you have a great radio voice and want to read audiobooks, or maybe you have an old book of poetry that you want to dust off and maybe get something published, just hop on over and hit us up in the Discord, or hit up one of the crew here on Twitter, and just reach out, because what we're here to try and help anybody that has some passion in this field to get seen and share their work and have their voice heard. So
Absolutely.
really appreciate everyone coming.
I want to mention one more thing. We were speaking yesterday about the we have an intention to perhaps mint smaller things. So instead of just entire books, if you have a poem, I want to be absolutely clear with Dylan on what the plan is. But I want to mention it before we sign off, about minting small things like poems and short stories and other very small literary texts that don't have to be whole books. So please, if there's any sort of any literary work that you think could and should be seen by people, whether it's a poem or a short story or anything else, just get in touch. We're very friendly people. We're very, very approachable. So thank you everyone so much. And I'm going to sign off now. Thank you everyone. See you next week, if not before.
And with that, I guess, peace, love, and whipsy.
And Whippy.
Whippy!